Alright, so welcome to episode 4 of Travelogue 4 for TDMCC, and this will be the final Travelogue, so I will be making some concluding remarks of this as well as exploring a little path a little bit different from last time. To start off, let me thank you for your comments from last week. Mushan, I appreciate the direction that you tried to push me in. Unfortunately, I'm in Virginia this weekend, and the streets aren't exactly teeming with, concert-savvy people and whatnot. Streets of suburbia in Virginia are not so exciting. And also I want to thank Melissa for her comment and giving me the information as to why Comcast was actually trying to push the Live Nation and Ticketmaster merger through, and because they're trying to buy ABC. And that actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it, because if the Senate's having a problem with antitrust issues dealing with the Live Nation and Ticketmaster merger, then if they help push that through, then that means that there will have been a precedent for two companies of that caliber to actually have merged together, which means that them buying a television station would not be seen as something monopolistic. So I can see that there's a vested interest for them directly, besides for the fact that they own a stadium in Philadelphia, which where both the Flyers and the 76ers play, which would definitely help them be able to set prices that they wanted. So the direction that I decided to go for this one is actually, I mentioned last time that Live Nation started doing these, what they're called 360 deals, and I actually wanted to delve more into those into detail to see what those are really about. Because the way that I see it, like after doing all this research, and I guess the way that a lot of people will see it, is that I feel like it's sort of the future of how dealing with artists and how to sign artists, because as we've talked about before, record sales are diminishing very, very rapidly. Really, who buys music anymore? I literally have only bought 2 albums in the past year, and that was only because I really, really wanted those albums and I wanted to buy the physical copy. But other than that, I don't bother most of the time because of exorbitant prices, bad standards, and just the fact I can get it for free so easily. So to combat this, they started signing these 360-degree deals in which when an artist signs with Live Nation, they get a huge cash advance in exchange for Live Nation being able to take a piece of literally every facet of their image and their music. So the first thing that people like Madonna, U2, Jay-Z, Shakira, and Nickelback are all signed with Live Nation. And the first one that I'd want to look at is the Madonna one, because that seems to be the real. It was the first of its kind in a way. It followed by Jay-Z and U2 and all those guys. But the way that it started with was a huge gamble, because straight off the bat, she gets a $17.5 million cash advance, which is just for signing, basically. See it as a signing bonus. It's just money for nothing. Then she gets $50 to $60 million advance in order to make 3 albums. So if you look at it in that way, it's about $20 million an album, which means that in the end they may not have to disperse all of it, depending on whether she has it in her to record 3 albums with them or not. And this was in 2008, by the way. She gets a $15 million cash and stock advance in order for them to promote her name and image, which means that basically once she signs this over, they own the right to promote, use her name or her image. Anytime her name or image is on anything, they get a piece of it. And which also comes into the concerts and licensing, although they do have to share this, because she gets to keep 90% of her concert revenue. As we've mentioned before, concerts are the way that artists make the most money, and then the other way is 50% of the licensing. So Live Nation doesn't get most of it. So when you think about it, it's really quite a risky deal, because they're basically going to lose the money for the albums anyways, because there aren't a lot of albums nowadays that actually do make money, especially considered they're giving her $20 million in advance for every album, which means that really they're bound to lose money over those 50 to 60 million dollars for the 3 albums, because music is selling so badly. And then the other thing is, so when you think about it, really they're paying between 67.5 and 127.5 million just for the right to sell her name. And I guess historically, like in 2000, right before they signed her, Madonna's tour grossed, I guess, in something like 60 shows, it grossed almost $200 million. So if you look at it in that way, and that if her concerts continue to be, or her tours continue to be as successful as they were, then it might not be that big a gamble. But I mean, that's a lot to put on, to basically say, all right, for this is, we're going to pay you all this money just to, promote your name and your image. But the fact that Live Nation also owns a lot of the venues, I think, has a lot to do with it, because since they own these venues, and since they get a chunk out of the concert, the money made from the concert revenue, the fact is that they will get a chunk out of that no matter what. And on top of it, when you look at the way that they're trying to merge with Ticketmaster now, this actually makes even more sense, because I mean, if you look at it, and if you really think about it, they will actually basically have control over every single facet of an artist from the get-go. I mean, they have rights over merchandising, over the image, over the tour. They will actually be able to, if they merge, they'll be able to get a significant portion of ticket prices, and they'll be able to set the prices for these tickets in which they're trying to make money off the artist's tour anyways. So in a certain sense, joining with Ticketmaster would be the best possible thing for them to do this. Then there are some other, Jay-Z was also a historical, signing in that they paid him $150 million overall, about the same as the Madonna deal, although he got an even bigger cash advance actually, which I find is kind of awesome. But they even get a piece of his clothing lines, which were already established, although he had sold it. I mean, he still has, his name is still on it, the whole Rockaware line, and he's got a line of nightclubs, the 4040 nightclubs, and they get a chunk of this. So it's an interesting approach, and I really do think that the music industry, once the music stops to sell, they're going to find every possible way that they can to profit off the artists, the other sides of the artist, besides for the music. And in today's hyper-mediated world, it definitely shows that this is a new model to conduct business in this way, because when the well dries up in terms of money for the for albums, then they have to find a way to make money off these artists anyways. And unfortunately, I do think that this is eventually going to be a real problem. I mean, already when they started doing these, some people thought it was too much risk. These 360 deals, one of the chairman of Live Nation actually resigned over it when he got into a big scuffle with Michael Rapino, who's the CEO of Live Nation, because he thought that it was way too much risk. But since then it's been it's showed that it's been okay. They've been losing some money, but if they get this Ticketmaster merger to come through, then I really think that it'll help their case out a lot. So basically, in the end, to conclude all these travelogues, the way that I've gone through this whole Live Nation and Ticketmaster business, and the online basically monopoly of how tickets are sold, the thing we should all remember is that no matter what, artists are going to lose more and more in it eventually. The labels and the promoters and the ticket vendors, they're going to end up reaping a majority of the benefits. So if you want to do what's right in order to support artists that you happen to like, then the best thing you can actually do is go to shows, because not only do you give them your support in terms of money, because that's what they make the most money on, but you give them your energy. And if you ever talk to some of these guys, you'll see how thankful they are to actually that they have fans that allow them to make music for a living. So anyways, this is H-Man signing out. See you guys in class on Tuesday, and big up to Jay Dilla on the beat for this one. Peace.